Can Christianity accept racism in any shape or form? Can someone who truly understands and follows the teachings of the Christ be racist or accept racism? Why is it that so many of us that call ourselves Christians still catch ourselves being racist? And how can we address that? Today's conversation, we are going to try to answer these questions in light of the teachings brought to us by the spirits in Spiritism, especially in the Gospel according to Spiritism and the Spirit's Book. Before we start, let's look at the definition of racism. I took the definition from the Australian Human Rights Commission, and I'll read it just to be faithful. I got the core message, and so it's just an excerpt. Racism is more than just prejudice in thought or action. It occurs when prejudice is accompanied by the power to discriminate against, to oppress, or to limit the rights of others. And all of us here, I imagine, would agree, because he said that it starts with a prejudice of thought or action, that even if it was just a thought that never became an action, that should be addressed. Don't you think? Because everything starts as a thought. And that's where we have to address it first. So let's look at the questions that I started asking in the beginning. Can someone who truly understands the teachings of the Christ and follows it be racist or accept racism? And the answer is no. Because the basis of Christ's teaching was love. If we look at the Gospel according to Spiritism in chapter 11, where they talk about love thy neighbor as thyself, and that is a passage where Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment would be. And he answered, and we can find that in Matthew 37-40. And what he answered was that the greatest commandment of all was to love God above all things, with all our heart, all our soul, and all our minds. And that was the greatest commandment. But there was a second that was similar to that one, that was like that one. And that would be to love our neighbors as ourselves. And he also added that all the law and prophets were contained in those two commandments. And it's interesting to observe that if he had left just the first commandment, to love God above all things, with all our heart, all our soul, and all our minds, might be confusing, and we might not have understood what that looked like in that time and even today. So what is it? What does it mean to love God above all things? So Jesus brought that closer to our understanding by saying that there was a second commandment that was like the first, which was to love thy neighbor as thyself. So we can demonstrate our love to God by loving our neighbor as we do ourselves. And this golden rule, that people call it the golden rule, it can be found in many different faiths. So if we search on the internet, the golden rule in different faiths, we will see how that same teaching comes or shows up in the different faiths with slightly different words. And I brought a few so we can have a look at what I mean. So in Christianity, we already discussed, but there's another passage in Matthew 7:12 that says, "In everything, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. For this sums up the law and the prophets." But if we look at Buddhism, and that's in Udana Varga 5:18, "Do not offend others as you would not want to be offended." Islam, Prophet Muhammad, "None of you are true believers until you love for your brother what you love for yourself." Judaism, Hillel Talmud Sabbat 31a. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Isn't that interesting? So all the rest is commentary. So love is the whole Torah and all the rest is commentary. Confucianism, Anacletus 1523. Confucius said, "Do not do to others what you do not want them to do to you." Taoism, that can be found in Tai Shang Kan Yang Pian, 213 to 218. Regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. And Jainism, and this I might read wrong, so please forgive me. Mahavira Sutra Kritanga. One should treat all creatures in the world as one would like to be treated. So beautiful, isn't it, how the message of love flows throughout all these different faiths with the same idea but in different words. So why is it then that so many of us that call ourselves Christians still feel some sort of racism, or are racist in thought or in action? So let's look at this time at the Spirit's book. We understand when the spirits talk about the law of progress, that everything in the universe is progressing, isn't it? In question 115 of the Spirit's book, the spirits tell us that God creates all spirits simple in ignorance. So we are all created by God. So we all have the same origin. We're created simple in ignorance. We're unique, but we are created the same. But we have our own uniqueness, right? And then in question 170, the spirits say that after our last incarnation, our destination is true happiness, because we are blessed spirits or pure spirits. So we came from the same origin, and we will reach the same destination. So what's happening in between that we are identifying our main differences, and we are judging people for these differences? So what's happening there? So if we look at the Spirit's book again, and it's the second part of the book where it talks about the Spirit's life and talks about reincarnation, we will learn that in order to progress from simple and ignorant into a pure spirits, we will come many times and live here many times. And during this process, and this is very important to understand, that during this process, we will incarnate in different cultures, different countries, different races, different genders, and sometimes even different planets. So how can we, if we truly understand that's in one life I can be born in one culture, in one race, in the next lifetime I can be born in a completely different one, a different race, a different country. If we fully understand that we are constantly in different positions to learn and to grow and to develop, just that understanding would end all kinds of prejudice, all kinds of racism or sexism or any kind of ism, any kind of prejudice would end just with that knowledge. Don't you think? So what is it that we have to do? Why is it that we still don't understand? And the spirits say, and I think that's in question, let me just double check, that's in question 779 true. It's in question 779. The spirits tell us that we are all progressing. However, we progress in different pace and in a different manner. Depending on the use of our free will and the choices that we make, we might progress in a certain manner differently one from another. They also add, and that's in 780, question 780, they also add that moral progress is not always linked or compatible, like doesn't happen at the same time as intellectual progress. So it's possible that we develop our intelligence and understanding of things, but morally, we still aren't there. We're still developing and trying to put into practice something that we understand, perhaps just intellectually. So when it comes to the teachings of the Christ or of the higher spirits through Spiritism, it's not sufficient to just understand mentally. We really have to start putting that into practice in our own lives. And that's where we identify in ourselves, sometimes despite understanding and doing our very best, and I'm talking about people who are doing their very best to put that into practice, we still catch ourselves saying something or thinking something that might be racist. And that is not okay. And what we have to do is to change that. And in question 919 in the Spirits book, Kardec and his team asked the spirits, what is the most efficient way to improve in this lifetime? And the spirits answer, that is to know ourselves. So if we really want to change and we really want to end racism, especially amongst Christians, because that does not make any sense and it's not acceptable, we have to look into ourselves and understand, am I racist in any shape or form? Is it through thought? Is it through action? Why is it? And start transforming that through our logic and through our hearts. So if we, because ideally we would transform our capacity of loving others and understanding that in essence, we're all the same in the eyes of God. And Wayne Dyer had a saying, he would say that in the eyes of the Creator, there are no favorites because God loves us all equally and always. And if we understand that, ideally we would understand that through love. But if we don't, we have to start with logic. So if we understand the implications of reincarnation and the fact that we were created all equal, simple in ignorance, and through our different lifetimes we incarnate in different situations, in different races, in one life and another, and that our destination is the same, which is perfection and true happiness and becoming a blessed and pure spirit, if we start utilizing this logic to support our transformation, to end once and for all any kind of racism that might be within us and around us. So thank you very much for your time. This is what I had to bring, and I hope to see you another time. Thank you.